Well, it is December 15th, and we were promised by the Democrats that they would have Build Back Better passed before Christmas, including some plan, A, B, or C, with immigration or some combination of it. But unfortunately, it is looking dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes, that President Joe Biden's $1.7 trillion safety net bill, which will include, hopefully, some form of immigration benefits for millions and millions of people, will be passed by the end of the year. It's simple math, yo-yo. They don't have 50 votes. Simple math. The decision is also in part because Senate Democrats haven't finished negotiating the bill. Provisions on state and local taxes, that's the SALT deduction, yo-yo. Are you familiar with the SALT deduction? So you are allowed to deduct your state taxes from your federal taxes. Donald Trump and the Republicans took that away. So it affects people in states that are highly taxed, like New York and California.
Got you.
Pumpkin didn't care about New York and California because people who voted for him are not from those states. And it helps people from states with low state taxes, which would be Texas, Florida, and some of the other states where there are low state taxes. And what happens now after Trump passed his tax bill, people in low state taxes saw their tax bills go down. People in high state taxes, even though they were paying less in federal, saw their taxes go up because you couldn't deduct your state and local taxes from your federal bill. So the Senate Democrats are trying to reinstate some form of that as well, and also some environmental issues as well. So because of that, and we still haven't heard from the parliamentarian about A, B, or C. I don't have to go through it. I've talked about it ad nauseum. Ad nauseum. So we're still waiting to hear A, B, or C. And as a matter of fact, there's some anonymous sources coming out of the U.S. Senate saying the vote could be delayed as far down as March 2022.
Oh, wow.
So we were told it would be done before Halloween. Then we were told it would be done before Thanksgiving. Then we were told it would be done by Christmas. And now the anonymous leaks. And by the way, anonymous leaks are never really leaks. They're just kind of trial balloons to, it's all done on purpose.
Yeah.
It's all trial balloons to see how the public's going to react to it before they make an official announcement that it would be March. Now, Schumer claims he's not throwing in the towel. He says the president and our friend, our quoted friend, Senator Manchin, they're still having discussions and we're waiting to see the outcome of those discussions. One of the big issues that's going to have trouble, the Democrats are going to have trouble doing, is if inflation continues to rear its ugly head, and we are in a state of inflation at this very moment. It will be extraordinarily difficult for the U.S. government to now spend $1.7 trillion additional money. Because as the government spends money that they don't have, you are making the value of money less valuable, which causes inflation. All right? So, it could be a problem if inflation doesn't get taken care of in the next few months. It's going to cause the Democrats to even have a harder time passing some of these bills. The one thing that they are trying to do is pass voter reform as well. We need voter reform as desperately as we need anything else, because without voter reform, we don't have a proper working democracy. People's votes are taken away from them, yo-yo. People are disenfranchised. States redistrict and put all of the Democratic vote, all of the minority vote in a big cluster, so it doesn't count as much as other areas. So, and they redistrict in weird ways. It's not without logical sense, other than to cluster a lot of Democratic votes in one section, so that way the other sections that are voting within that particular state or counties or however they redistrict has more Republican votes. So if you have, for example, let's say you have 500,000 Democratic votes in a state, and you have 500,000. This is why redistricting is so important, okay, and it's a big issue. Let's say hypothetically you have 500,000 Democratic votes in a state, you have 500,000 Republican votes in a state, and they redistrict, and they put all 450,000 of the 500,000 Democrats in one area. Yeah. So that's one congressman, okay? And then all of the other 8 congressmen from that state all end up becoming Republican. And it's like a weird line, however they divide it. And that's how the Republicans stay in power. Because the majority of people still vote Democrat. Majority of people voted for Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump won. It was partly because of the Electoral College. It's redistricting, it's everything. Yeah. Okay? So they want to pass a voting rights bill to make it easier for people to vote, to make it less restrictive for states to restrict people from voting, whether it's making people travel long distances, eliminating voters who do mail-in ballots, and many other things that states do to restrict voting. And mostly the Republicans, they do it to restrict minority voting. And by the way, the Democrats are just as guilty in Democratic states. They bundle Republicans together to keep the Democrats in power. So they want to try to eliminate some of this, rezoning to try to game the system, as well as some of the other voting problems that the United States has. So as a result, they want to eliminate the filibuster from the Senate, which is 60 votes to pass a bill. So also they are in discussions with Senator Manchin about that as well. Now, why that's important for immigration is if they do eliminate the filibuster, it's possible, even if Build Back Better doesn't pass, they have a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives, and it is possible they can then pass an immigration bill and not worry about the parliamentarian whether or not this is a budget or a new law. So now all of a sudden, if they pass the bill, they've changed the rules in the Senate to say we're going to pass bills with a simple majority of 50 people, they don't need the parliamentarian anymore to say this is a budget reconciliation issue or this is a new law. And now all of a sudden, we're talking all over again about immigration reform. So that's why it's very important to see what happens with the voting rights bill. Because if they allow a majority vote for that, they're going to allow a majority vote for everything. Meanwhile, yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security announced, Jonathan, that the United States is committing for the first time to define statelessness. Do you know there are people living in the United States right now who have no country? They don't have a passport. They may not have identification. I have several of those clients. It's very difficult for them to prove they are who they are. Wow. And as a result, they have big problems. Stateless people have problems getting immigration benefits, because you have to go take a biometric fingerprint, for example. Right. You need photo ID. Well, if you have no status here, where are you getting your photo ID from? It always starts from the passport from your particular country.
So these people don't have?
They don't have.
Wow.
They can't go to an embassy to get a passport. There are over 200,000 people stateless living in the United States right now who have no passport, no country that they call home. And the United Nations has always defined stateless people, but the United States has never defined it. So for instance, as I said, the United States stateless people don't have identity documents, and they have trouble proving they are who they are to get any immigration benefits whatsoever. Now, the move can help perhaps 218,000 people who don't have passports in the United States of America. Because once you define who a stateless person is, you can now make rules to assist them if they don't have a passport, how they can prove they are who they are. Right now, there's no rule anywhere to prove that anybody is who they are unless they have photo identification.
Right.
So this is a good first step for the many stateless people in the United States of America who have no identification, no passport, no nothing.
That's good.
And last night, I don't know if you saw, the Democratic-controlled House voted to pursue criminal charges against the former Pumpkins White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. He failed to appear for a deposition regarding the January 6th insurrection. Strange, he used to be a congressman, and he used to demand that people come in front of him for depositions. And how dare they ignore a congressional subpoena? So now, when it's on the other side, he's ignoring it.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is before he ignored it, he was cooperating with the January 6th committee. Mm-hmm. He gave over all of his emails. In those emails, there are all sorts of emails from others in Congress, Donald Trump Jr., people from Fox News, urging him to speak to Donald Trump to stop the insurrection. It shows two things. Number one, that whatever Donald Trump said, or whatever the Republicans said, that this was just people who came to because their story was people came to a rally, they got angry, I never told them to do anything. Mm-hmm. But apparently everybody in the Republican Party was urging Donald Trump in secret emails to stop this immediately, which means two things. One, Trump knew what was going on. They knew Trump could stop it, which means that it was pre-planned and Trump knew about it, right. And the Republicans in the White House knew about it, and certainly some congressmen knew about it. As a pre-planned insurrection, perhaps even a coup to run the United States after losing an election. I mean, the reality is Donald Trump was one vice president away from overthrowing the United States Constitution. Mm-hmm. If Mike Pence did what Trump wanted him to do on January 6th, who knows if the Constitution... Right. I mean, we were literally one vice president away. One man, I don't particularly like the guy.
Which is why they wanted to overthrow him,
right? Which is and by the way, which is why the crowd was yelling, "Hang Mike Pence!"
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why they were doing that.
Yeah. So
that was the first time I was like, "Oh, okay, Pence is."
And by the way, Meadows is saying, "Well, I've decided now that Trump has executive privilege. I can't talk for President Trump. I can't talk about anything that was said in front of President Trump because that's a privileged conversation between me and the president." Mm-hmm. And he's using that to avoid having to come and be deposed by Congress. Now, two things he's thinking. Number one, that he's going to ride this out through October. The Republicans will take over, and that will be the end of the committee, because once the Republicans take over the Congress, that's it. And number two, if in fact these emails that are being leaked out are true, which you would believe they are, mm-hmm. He's probably looking at more criminal liability because he participated in what is now appearing to be a attempted coup of the United States of America, that he potentially, by being deposed, is opening himself up to more criminal liability by trying to overthrow a free and fair election in the United States of America than he is by not participating in a deposition and going to jail for 6 months. I think he's looking at more liability by being deposed,
right,
because they're not giving him immunity from his testimony. And I think his testimony is going to show either he's perjuring himself, which could lead to severe jail time if you perjure yourself, or if you admit to trying to overthrow the United States government.
Right.
To me, given the choice of all three, I'd rather not show up and do 6 months in jail on a misdemeanor for not appearing at a deposition. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Some of the text messages, I mean, they knew about it. Texts from unnamed lawmakers were sent to Meadows, said that former Vice President Mike Pence should call out all electoral votes that he believes are unconstitutional as no electoral votes at all.
Wow.
Which means that people were urging Meadows to urge Pence to overthrow the government. This was all read out, by the way, by Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming. Cheney said other texts were sent in real time about the events as they unfolded. These text messages leave no doubt the White House knew exactly what was happening here at the Capitol. In a third text to Mark Meadows, see, he was the chief of staff of Trump. He was Trump's right-hand man. All right, and now the January 6th committee has all his emails and text messages. In a third, it says, Mark, protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows on doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something? Another text message, there's an armed standoff at the House chamber door. We are all helpless here.
Jeez.
Okay, he got text messages from Fox News. As the violence continued, Donald Trump Jr. texted Meadows as well. He's got to condemn this ASAP. His son is telling Trump to condemn it. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough. Cheney continued. Donald Trump Jr. texted again and again, urging action by the president. So if everybody's texting Trump to say, call off the dogs, and texting Meadows to tell Trump to call off the dogs, call off these rioters, this is too much now. Are you saying me he didn't know? He claimed he was in the White House. He didn't know what was going on.
He knew.
Okay. He claimed that he had nothing to do with even people rioting. He didn't tell anybody. They all knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
There's even text messages from to Mark Meadows asking from people who were organizing the event, asking for the National Guard to come and protect them. Well, if they weren't going to do anything, why did they need protection? And then why was the National Guard never called to help the Capitol Police who were being overrun? Where were they? They were all told to stand down.
Right.
It was a pre-planned coup. So if Mark Meadows' choice of either testifying about a coup he was helping to attempt to overthrow the U.S. government in a free and fair election, or going to jail for not showing up to a deposition, I would take that 6 months. The 6 months all day long. So that's what's going on there. And what's going to be interesting is because the Democrats have a timeline. You know, assuming they're going to lose Congress in November, this whole thing has to be wrapped up by the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
Because once the Republicans take control, they're going to close down the entire investigation.
Oh.
And in coronavirus news, congratulations to the United States of America. And I'm being, I guess, not ironic, but sarcastic.
Oh, no.
Yes, sarcastic.
That's what I thought you were going to say, but I was like, nah, you can't be sarcastic with this.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic with it anyway because it's so ridiculous. The United States has surpassed 800,000 COVID deaths. It is the most COVID deaths of any country in the entire world.
Jeez.
We now lead the entire world in COVID deaths. And by the way, most of the deaths these days are coming from unvaccinated people. These are all deaths that many, not all, many that can be avoided. Right now, the United States is averaging 1,200 deaths per day. It's like, you know, there was about 3,000 people that died approximately a little over 3,000 people that died in the World Trade Center during 9/11. It's like having a 9/11 twice a week.
Sheesh.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like having a 9/11 twice a week. Meanwhile, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued on, and not that I'm comparing COVID to 9/11 because it was a terrorist attack and this is a virus, just saying in terms of the deaths. Mm-hmm. And there's not as much outcry over the deaths of COVID as 9/11. People were up in arms over 9/11.
Yeah.
They're not up in arms over COVID. I think we're tired of COVID. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Because it's been happening for so long,
Yeah.
like, you know, and when you constantly hear about stuff, you kind of get desensitized.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Meanwhile, Biden had a partial win in the federal courts to require COVID vaccinations for healthcare workers. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued an order effectively allowing the mandate to be enforced in about half the states. The only states that do not have to enforce the mandate are the 14 states that originally brought the lawsuit to not have their healthcare workers be vaccinated. Biden also has some other policies that are working their way through the court, including companies with more than 100 employees must vaccinate all their employees or terminate them.
Oh.
That's working their way through the courts right now as well. That is our schmooze, but we have some hump day somewhere. Do we have?
Let out the camels.
We have some camels.
It's hump day.
There we are.
Let them
It's
out.
hump day.
Now these are non-Botoxed camels,
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yeah, we have
We don't
the real
Botox.
deal.
We don't Botox our camels.
We don't Botox ours.
Right.
It's natural beauty.
Our camels are beautiful naturally, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, couples are erecting Christmas trees in the bedroom, Yo-Yo. Yes, experts say that people find the sight of the green prickles, it's kind of funny that they use that word, the green prickles, and smell of pine, the ultimate turn on, and they're using the Christmas trees to perk up their love lives. 1 in 6 customers at the Gardening Express, which I guess is either a large Christmas tree outlet or something, but they're saying 1 out of 6 are putting their Christmas tree in the bedroom. One female customer explained, "My boyfriend was dead against the tree in the bedroom, but I said we could stay in bed all day on Christmas, and that won him over." Do you think people are putting the Christmas tree in the bedroom or because it's always, you know, the traditional place is the living room.
Yeah.
Where do you put your Christmas tree?
In the living room, but I did say that like once I get a bigger place, I was gonna put a smaller Christmas tree in my bedroom.
Why? Is it to perk up your sex life?
No.
Because you want to look at it during Christmas on Christmas Day and just lie in bed?
Yeah, so like I have
more
options.
Festive.
I have options.
You have
I can
options.
wake up to a Christmas tree.
Right. But it has nothing to do.
No.
Right. Meanwhile, a London sex expert has revealed her top tips for having the best festive sex life during the Christmas holidays. And her name is Stella Anna Sonnebaum, and she has a few fun tricks. She said one of the biggest pieces of Christmas sex advice, don't buy any sexy presents without a warning.
Oh.
She said never ever buy your partner sexy underwear or sexy lingerie, and never ever buy them anything, you know, toy related, unless you are 95% sure they're going to appreciate it. Because if they're not going to appreciate it, it's going to be a surprise. They could be offended.
Yeah.
They could be
turned off.
They could be embarrassed.
Yeah.
And it could cause a huge problem over Christmas.
Yeah.
So she says it's better to go to these type of stores, the sexy stores, together, rather than do a surprise. I think so too.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right? She says also, beware of sex at the in-laws' house.
Oh.
All right. Christmas invariably spends time at your parents' house. She says you may share a house with the in-laws and you'll be in your private room. But you want to bring any of the noise and all of that commotion.
Awkward.
Right. All of a sudden the bed is banging against your mother-in-law's.
That would be awkward.
She's saying don't do it. Don't even try.
Yeah.
And what she does say is bring Christmas into the bedroom.
Okay.
Which is bringing
the role plays.
Bringing the role plays, yes. you know, dressed as a sexy Santa or sexy Mrs. Claus.
Right.
Right? But not as a sexy elf.
Not as a sexy elf.
What about as Santa's sexy next door neighbor?
I like what Dion Reed said.
What?
Santa's side chick.
That could be funny too.
Yeah.
All right. And what else is happening here? All right. So an Amazon driver was fired after scantily clad women were caught slipping out the back door. What does this even mean?
This is trifling.
This is trifling?
Yeah.
Okay. This story brings new meaning to sex drive and can be the reason some of your holiday packages are being late or not even being delivered.
Right.
A Florida Amazon driver was fired after scantily clad barefoot woman was filmed climbing out of the back door of his Amazon truck.
Yes.
A new viral video documented the scandalous incident, amassed 11.7 million views on TikTok. The 11-second footage, originally uploaded on October 24th, shows that the now fired Amazon courier Twain George opening the back of his van, whereupon a blonde woman in a black mini dress hopped out.
Yes.
So that is that is just basically that.
Trifling.
And this is the Amazon.
And look at him just like letting her out like it's his house.
But I don't even know what to say about that.
I think that's trifling.
That is very trifling. And finally, Yo-Yo.
Yeah.
On our final hump day of the year.
Oh.
Yes. A tree farm in Utah is going viral because the lumberjacks that work on the farm decided to serenade the people with an all-male, sexy Magic Mike dance review. Derek Peterson, owner of the Peterson Tree Care in Elk Ridge, Utah, had a fantastic year in December 2020, selling out all its Christmas trees in a record-breaking 11 days. So to thank the community for their patronage, he and his brothers, or his bros, that work at the lot decided to do a striptease-esque performance to Bishop Briggs River and share the video on social media. These sexy lumberjacks are straddling tree trunks, they're sliding down poles, they're chopping down trees, and they're doing it all sexy lumberjacks.
That is smart. Look at, they are really on these poles.
Well, the lumberjacks are strong. You got to be strong to be cutting down. Yeah. So for the inspiration behind the video, Peterson said that I happened to just be driving down the road and that song came on. I thought we ought to do a dance to that. And he said he's not shocked that the video has gone viral because it checks out 2 of the 3 major sexy categories: lumberjacks and dudes who can dance.
Yeah, come on, Magic Mike was like.
What is the third sexy category?
I mean, anything that has to do with Channing Tatum.
But he said it covers 2 out of the 3. So being a lumberjack was 1, being able to sexy dance was 2. But what is the third one?
Holidays.
Abs.
The
muscles.
Holidays? No, Christmas is kind of sexy.
I don't know. But it's gone viral. All right, so that is our Hump Day News of the day. And in this edition of... Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.